And I would like to finish by mentioning, of course, our third priority, which is people-to-people exchanges. Because everything that I've said before on defense and security, on economic cooperation, it's not really sustainable if it's not precisely sustained by a strong people-to-people ties, bilateral relationship, and I would even say friendship. And that's why we also invest a lot on our cultural diplomacy, on our events, to try to connect more and more our people, basically. And we are happy because we are lucky, first of all, because our people like each other. It's not difficult to be in your country because I've seen how much France was known and appreciated, be it for croissant, and please help yourself if you need any, but also for Lourdes. I cannot count the number of people I've met in your country who know better my country than me and have been and traveled to Lourdes many times, or to Paris, of course. So it's not difficult to sell my country, and it's not, and vice versa, I would say, because we have a beautiful country, and we have basis for doing more and getting to know each other more. Let me name a few examples of what we have achieved also in terms of people-to-people exchanges. And I would like to start with connecting us once again and making the distance, which is obviously an important distance, 10,000 kilometers away from Paris, Manila, Paris, but we have resumed a direct flight. In December 2024, you might remember that Air France resumed a direct flight connecting Manila to Europe, the only one right now, after 20 years of absence. It's been a challenge, it's been difficult, and you have learned since then that unfortunately for the summertime they decided to lift the direct flight, but it will come back, it will resume on October 5 for the winter season, because the winter season was really efficient and profitable. So the Air France is in the country, and it helps. Obviously, I've talked to many French companies, many people who, of course, when they just have to spend a night in the plane to connect to the Philippines, it makes their lives easier. So I was really happy to achieve that. And that led probably to an increase in the numbers of tourists. I was impressed, I asked for the numbers, I have them here. Between 2022 and 2025, basically the number of tourists has been ×4, French tourists. And we are very confident that we will reach 110,000 French tourists by the end of 2026. Of course, there has been rattrapage after the COVID. There was a need to catch up. But when I compare the number of tourists before COVID in 2019 and now, we are approximately, the number is really 100,000 French tourists in the country in 2025. There has been an increase by 33%. So despite of the impact of the COVID and the catch-up after COVID, there is an increase compared to before, which is good because in the case of the Philippines, the number of tourists before COVID today is still low compared to before COVID. But you can count on the French tourists to make this number change. And vice versa. I've seen also an increase over the last 3 years. There has been a doubling of the number of Filipino tourists in France. There are today currently 33,000 Filipino tourists. And it relates to the number of visas I give at the embassy, because we have approximately 35,000 requests for visa every year. So tourism, it's a great show and a great way of connecting our people, and it's increasing. And thanks to this achievement that we did with Air France to resume the direct flights. Of course, people-to-people exchanges relies a lot on cultural events, cultural diplomacy, so we try our best to propose here in Manila, but also in Cebu, events with our two Alliances Françaises, cultural institute in Manila, in Cebu. A lot of events, you know, probably we are organizing French film festivals, we are organizing Fêtes de la Musique, Goût de France, so many events with music, with cinema, with gastronomy, and that's a way for us to share our culture with you. And also we organize events where the Filipino culture is also shared with the French community here in the Philippines. So it's always very important to invest into cultural diplomacy for us. I was mentioning the Alliance Française. It's also the place to learn French. And of course we are very happy to see how many Filipinos choose French as not a first language, a second, but a third language sometimes. I could not imagine when I arrived, because of course you are an English-speaking country, you have your own, how many languages? 700 plus languages in your country. So you could tell, okay, there is no place for French, but there is. And I asked for the numbers. Alliance Française de Manille is more than 5,000 students right now learning French, and in Cebu it's probably 1,500 something. So there are a lot of Filipinos who wish to learn French, and it gives me real pride, and I'm very happy. So that's also a way to connect, and that's also a basis then to organize events with the Francophone community. And I'm very proud of one event I organized when I arrived. Of course, I could not miss the fact that Filipinos are singers, and you like to sing, and you all sing very well. I know that because I was asked so many times to sing La Vie en Rose. And I had to, and I'm a bad singer, so I did, but I was ashamed each time, but I did it. And I thought, okay, for Francophonie month, every March, we will organize a Francophone karaoke. And we did, with our best Francophone friends in the Philippines, with the Club Français in UP. We have also many the students who learn French, many French teachers, and we organize every year our competition of French karaoke, and we have a lot of fun time. So just examples to underline that people-to-people exchanges, it's important. It's really the basis for our cooperation and for strengthening our ties. It's not only official, institutional diplomacy, it's not only defense and security. It also goes with this people-to-people ties. With those students, we want also to foster student mobility, to expect more students from the Philippines to study in France and vice versa. And I've welcomed an increasing number of French students coming to the Philippines also to study. So it's a good, it's plenty of good signals that our bilateral relationship is doing good. We want to invest more on the youth of this country, because I always say that I come from an aging country, unfortunately. You don't. You are a vibrant, dynamic, young country. Average age is 25. It's more like 42 in our case, so you immediately see the difference. I might have to ask a glass of water, please. The future. The youth of your country is the key, so we want to invest more in the youth. That's why we launched so many open calls for NGOs to step in our project on youth and the oceans, to raise awareness on the protection of oceans in the youth. And lately, last May, I launched the new initiative, Partnership for Youth in the Philippines, to kind of foster civic engagement in the youth. And I'm so happy to see each time so many civil society organizations, NGOs, even in the universities, being interested in participating in our project. And that's also important to mention that it's also an opportunity, it gives us an opportunity to talk about sometimes difficult projects, because when you are friends and partners, it does not mean that you're always on the same page. You might disagree on some aspects or have expectations, and we continue to be concerned, for example, by the situation on human rights. And this is a conversation that we organize a lot with the youth here in this residence. Also together with my German colleague, we organize a French-German gathering on human rights in order precisely to offer safe space and to have occasions to talk about also difficult topics. And I've been always impressed to see how much committed the civil society is in your country. And that's important to continue having this conversation on human rights, on feminist diplomacy, which is also very high and very important for us. On this aspect, we have to learn a lot from your example, because on gender equality, the Philippines ranks higher than France. We've had already 2 female presidents of the Republic. We have none yet in our history. So we have to learn from you. There are also other topics where maybe we could also offer some help, and sexual and reproductive rights, for example, is a topic where we continue to think that there is a need for improvement, and that's why we organize also many projects of cooperation in the field of health in the country, and I'm leaving tomorrow for Davao precisely to inaugurate the French Film Festival in Davao tomorrow night, but also to have an assessment, a final assessment of a project we had with the French NGO, Médecins du Monde, designed to help preventing teenage pregnancies. So those are examples that people-to-people ties and the possibility to connect with the youth. It gives also this French embassy the possibility to engage into way more deep conversations on difficult issues, and it's also important to sustain our bilateral relations. So I really wanted to frame it, the whole spectrum of what we do in the French embassy. I rely on a fantastic team, and I want to thank them also officially here, because it's not just me, of course, it's a team effort. But I think over the last 3 years, with this broad range, broad spectrum of areas, we have contributed to strengthen the ties, and that was the mandate that was given to me. To be continued, of course. I will have a successor. It's not official yet, so be patient, stay tuned, and the successor will arrive probably somewhere in September, and I'm sure there will be new occasions to continue engaging with you, to continue reporting also on what we are doing. And as I was saying, and I will finish on this note, next year, special year, 80 years of diplomatic relations, so I'm sure there will be many events to comment and to be invited to follow. So thank you in advance for that, even though I will not be present in the country to follow what's going on in your country. Rest assured, I will have the Philippines dear to my heart for forever now, for my family and me. It's been 3 extraordinary years. There is no better place for my husband and our 3 kids and me to be posted in, because you are a family country, very hospitable, and we felt at home in your country, and I'm very, very grateful to the Filipinos and of course to every one of you for the friendship and our ties. Thank you so much, and let's continue the discussion. If you have any questions, of course, I'm happy to answer. Thank you. Maraming salamat.